Hey guys, Dan here, aka Wolf, and today we're going to be exploring some potential secrets for Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, a title currently in development by Naughty Dog, the broader gameplay and story elements of which have been kept tightly under wraps. Up until a few days ago, all I knew about Intergalactic was my brief impressions of it back in December of 24 when the announcement teaser dropped. At the time, I thought, cool, the pro tag looks interesting, as does the setting. We've got a space Porsche, some vintage kicks, an awesome wave sword, and a nice 1980s retro futurism vibe that certainly resonates with me being a child of the 80s. And I immediately suspected that this game was going to blow me away when it finally released in a few years. But other than thinking it was a very rad reveal, I didn't give it much more thought. My channel was in hiatus at the time, and I was neck deep in my Daniel Nightcraft projects and pretty much all consumed by them. So when I sat down to seriously take a look at this game a few days ago, I was surprised by how much jumped out at me during my second watch of the announcement trailer. In addition, some things really clicked in my brain when I took a look at Naughty Dog's press release from the announcement, and I just might have sussed out some hidden meanings with potential to be symbolic spoilers. But before we get into all that, let's do a quick hit of the basics based on what Naughty Dog has revealed so far. We know that the story is set in an alternate universe where space travel has significantly advanced by 1986. No MTV rocket launches here because it's clear by the presence of an exotic world that faster-than-light travel has already been achieved. The protagonist is Jordan Amun, a dangerous bounty hunter who becomes stranded on a mysterious planet. Even stranger, the world of Sempiria is, according to Neil Druckmann, a distant planet whose communication with the outside universe went dark hundreds of years ago. In fact, anyone who's flown to it hoping to unravel its mysterious past was never heard from again. Jordan will have to use all her skills and wits if she hopes to be the first person in over 600 years to leave its orbit. He also shares that Sempiria has a complex religion that his writing team developed thousands of years of backstory for. In his December 2024 interview with the New York Times, Neil shared that this ambitious story will be centered around Sempiria's fictitious religion and explore, quote, what happens when you put your faith in different institutions, end quote. And before we go any further, anything past this point should be considered potential spoilers for Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. Now, right out the gate, there are some things to unpack in the etymology of Jordan's name, which could be telling us something about the deeper themes this story may ultimately explore, especially when her name's etymology is cross-referenced with the game's title, the Heretic Prophet. Right from the start, we are given a title that is something of a paradox, a prophet who is also a heretic. Of course, heresy means to speak a truth or to broadcast a view that is not accepted by the majority of a religious institution. And the words heresy and heretic usually carry with them the emotional imagery of being burned at the stake or otherwise violently ended by whatever orthodoxy happens to be in power. Our player character's first name is Jordan, whose etymology means to flow down or descend, specifically an ancient reference to the Jordan River. And our dangerous bounty hunter is about to descend upon Sempiria, potentially as the titular heretic prophet, even if she and the player have no idea how Jordan might ultimately become this heretic prophet. In Judeo-Christian beliefs, the Jordan River holds significant meaning. In addition to being the site of several miracles and the baptism place of Jesus, the Jordan River is more significantly recognized for its symbolism of crossing over into the Promised Land by the Hebrews, following their 40-year exodus from Egypt. Much like what the River Jordan symbolizes in Judaism, will Jordan's arrival on Sempiria symbolize a new beginning, the fulfillment of a covenant, and a passage from adversity to hope and promise? And will there be a darker aspect to this heretic prophet's arrival, something that Sempiria's orthodoxy refuses to accept as true? The answer we are searching for may lie in the rest of our player character's name. When I stared at our protag's full name as written in Naughty Dog's press release, Jordan Amun, I saw it almost immediately. Not Jordan Amun, but rather Jordan Amun. And Amun, of course, is an Egyptian god known as the Hidden One, the god of the air and the creator of the universe. Amun would go on to merge with the sun god Ra as Amun-Ra and be exalted for a time at the pinnacle of the Egyptian pantheon. This has parallels with the god El tracing his origins back to the pinnacle of the Canaanite pantheon before he was absorbed by or became Christianity's Yahweh via pantheon reduction. In fact, when Christians say Amen at the end of every prayer, it has been speculated that they might be unwittingly declaring their prayers to the Hidden One, the Egyptian god Amun, which is quite a heretical thing to suggest, isn't it? Especially if Christianity took on syncretic adoptions during the Hebrew exodus of Egypt, as led by a former prince of the Egyptian court. You see, I've already gone down this rabbit hole years ago, as one of the antagonists in my manuscript Beyond the Veil of Venus uses this speculative factoid as a way to traumatize and mentally wound his adult son. So it is interesting to consider the deeper meaning of Jordan Amun in a game called the Heretic Prophet, including the blasphemous suggestion hidden in plain sight that Amun could very well suggest. In addition, Jordan's isolated last name of Mun has several meanings in Korean and Chinese, one of which is gate or door. As Jordan pursues her quarry to Sempiria, will she be an outsider spoken of ages ago in the planet's past? Is the Heretic Prophet someone who is not one of the planet's denizens, but rather an outsider who brings change to the religious paradigm over their world, whose power and control over its population is likely based on some form of secret technology that allows its historic line of rulers to isolate their planet from the rest of the galaxy? After all, isolation tactics and extreme othering of those outside of the group are classic cult strategies to maintain control of its members. And could this be the key to why no one has been able to escape Sempiria in 600 years? And most importantly, by keeping Sempiria cut off and isolated from the other planets, those in power can control and limit the knowledge of its citizens, programming them to have volatile reactions when any new information challenges the historical narrative of their faith. Is escaping their world something that Jordan will ultimately make available to all of Sempiria's citizens, where the rest of the known galaxy becomes their promised land, which they are finally able to flee by crossing over through the path she has already laid? It is interesting that the last lines spoken in the reveal trailer are by Jordan's agent, played by Haley Gross, who says, "I'll see you on the other side," which echoes the religious crossing over meaning bound up in the etymology of our hero's first name. And perhaps punctuating this point is Neil Druckmann himself, who signed off Intergalactic's press release with the same phrase. Here shortly, I will have more to share with you about the visual connections I noticed in the reveal trailer, and later we'll discuss some recent comments you've shared here on this channel, so be sure to stick around for that. After all, the comments I share and discuss just might be one of your own. And while you're here, you can help me build something great by subscribing and hitting a big activate on that notification bell. Legends tell of it bringing about great happiness. Share my content in the spaces you inhabit, and of course, with your friends. But before we return, I hope you will allow me a tender bite of your neck.
Yeah, vampires are like my thing.
Because if vampires are your thing, you can snag a copy of my gothic horror novel, A Wicked Thing in the Red Wagon Lurks, which is a vampire origin story with elements of cosmic horror, body horror, and eroticism, as a smuggler's caravan attempts to help a mysterious Spanish count flee the New World. You can find links to purchase your ebook or paperback in the description of this video, and I will consider any reviews left by you an offering of your own neck. Given the religious underpinnings of Intergalactic, I find it interesting that our first introduction to Jordan is her shaving her head, which reminds us of the religious Seraphite warriors in The Last of Us Part 2. But Jordan's connections to The Last of Us don't just end there. When we look at her, not only is she of a similar size and build to Ellie, she also has a forearm sleeve with a visual echoing of Ellie's moth and fern. Only Jordan's design replaces Ellie's ferns with what appear to be tentacles. And it is of course visually striking to see tentacles once again in a Naughty Dog headspace, since it reminds us of the Cephalophat card and all of that vengeful entity's bottled up meanings in the cycle of violence, which I explored years ago in my Mythology of the Epic Duel essay. I'll throw a link above for those of you who may wish to check that out or revisit it. These visual similarities between Ellie and Jordan become even more striking when we think about what Neil shared with the New York Times about casting Tati Gabrielle to play Intergalactic's lead role. He said, "She has this intimidating presence to her. We brought her in for an audition and she blew us away. It was one of those moments like when I first saw Ashley Johnson as Ellie." Do you think these visual cues are intentional or merely a coincidence? And what do you make of the potential unpacking of the deeper etymology of Jordan A. Munn's name? Coincidence? Reaching? Or are these merely layers that came out of Naughty Dog's deep storytelling toolbox? Be sure to let me know your thoughts or your arguments in the comments below. And speaking of comments, let's explore what some of you had to say in response to my latest video. To kick this off, Wise and Fun Fox says, "Your voice is much different from years ago. It's way deeper. Is this AI voice? It doesn't change the views I have of your thoughts, but it does seem like a disconnection of connection. If is AI voice. I still love the content no matter what." Well, Wise and Fun Fox, I can tell you that you are hearing my natural narrating voice, the same one you have always heard on this channel. It is simply beaming down to you through a much better microphone. Diet Waffles says, "The more you look, the more you see how similar each character is to the next. The shared human experience that unites us all is complex, to say the least." And that, Diet Waffles, is very beautifully said, spoken like a line from one of my own essays. And from such eloquence, a more pressing question emerges, as if from the navel of the universe herself. What, pray tell, exactly are Diet Waffles made of? And do they come with a carb crash? Inquiring minds want to know.
Did my belly cover you in jelly?
Hey Buddy's Clips says, "I think Tommy sees Abby as the catalyst of everything he lost. His brother, his eye, his ability to defend the town as a sniper, his inability to move the way he once could, and his marriage falling apart. I don't think he can ever be near her without his hate twisting him into someone unrecognizable to himself. He gets a lot of blame from people who don't realize Ellie still wanted revenge. She wasn't happy at the farm, as her diary reflects. For me, I'm glad she went. That awful journey set her on the path to keep the little fragments of herself, something Tommy couldn't seem to do. I find a bleak hope in the ending of part 2. We know that's not the end of the story. It's the middle." Thank you for sharing your thoughts and feelings, Hey Buddies Clips, and I absolutely love that turn of phrase, Ellie keeping the little fragments of herself. And the truth is, we don't really see enough of the story through Tommy's lens to know whether he's fully gone or not. Just as you mentioned finding a bleak hope in the ending, I hold out hope that Tommy can find the light or some form of personal private atonement in Part 3, so that he can, as the Hatsuma said in another comment, do a little better than Joel did. And you're right, the ending of Part 2 certainly feels like the middle movement of a 3-part symphony. Rockman Tree says, Tommy is the Joel in yellow Overwatch, who is also Rider Strong. But is true, one closet shared with Abby. But she had shot Tommy dead. He resurrected at farm, but get up slow. Not zombie, but still mad when no help. Abby hungry. Abby skinny, but not strong enough to drown. Forgiveness trade, but fingers gone. Menu sunny now. Thank you, Rockman Tree, for taking me and the rest of us on the unique journey of how you experience the endgame. And if I have nightmares of the Joel in yellow tonight, rest assured that I will meditate and find my happy place. In fact, my calming phrase is going to be menu sunny now. Dudu Tuga 2002 says, I understand the pain of accepting the eventual death of Ellie in Part 3, but the truth is that I prefer and will always prefer that she sacrifice herself. What can be more fulfilling than seeing your favorite character achieve a state of world savior and leave this world in a very meaningful way? This logic is the same for Joel. His death made Part 2 meaningful. It made this a game that wasn't afraid to show emotion, a game that didn't want to follow the safe path. So for the sake of a perfect arc for Ellie, she should finally do what she must. Very happy to have these videos. Thanks for the love, Dudu Tuga. Truly, I really dig how you highlight Joel's death, making Part 2 meaningful, and especially how you mention the fearless storytelling of Naughty Dog. In a way, they really did risk it all. You know, in a world where so many big budget projects are usually safer and sometimes even more vanilla than they should be, the fact that we can have storytelling like the kind Naughty Dog gave us in Part 2 is just high art in the most punk rock sense. Whether people loved or hated Part 2, I'm surprised that more who disliked it didn't respect it for that value alone. Some probably did, actually. They likely just got drowned out in all the noise. As we know, there are always fingers on the knobs, ever turning up the noise. After all, nothing makes us engage like outrage. Or so big tech thinks. Let's prove them wrong by withholding that rage click and reclaiming our doom scroll landscape with menu sunny now. Just a thought. If this video meant something to you, please leave your love in the comments and I will respond to every single one. From your thoughts on this essay to what you'd love to see more of, your thoughts are one of the best ways to keep me informed about what really engages you and moves you here. After all, what you have to say means more to me than you could possibly know.